Before we begin, I would like to thank Pokesonic Legend for making the background I am currently using. I would also like to thank them for finding the video I'm covering, specifically one on Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door and the topic of the character Vivian and their status as transgender. Now, the first thing I want to note is that it takes this person 11 minutes to actually begin talking about the topic of the video, so I'm just going to be skipping to that point.
So, let's get into what Vivian actually is. The Japanese version for this type of feminine-looking man who likes feminine clothing is an otukonoko. It roughly translates to male girl or male daughter, and honestly there is a range to it like most cultural details like this. What it isn't...
That term didn't have any documented use until after Thousand Year Door came out, though. Instead, it's much more likely the word being used simply meant boy, and this is backed up by the fact that Koops is referred to in the same manner. Also, that term can be used to refer to transgender women, meaning this distinction you're making doesn't make any sense in the first place. There are also facts that are important here, such as Vivian calling herself somebody with a boy's body, but a girl's heart in the original Japanese. Furthermore, different translations specifically put more emphasis on this aspect of Vivian's character. Here's a clip from Did You Know Gaming discussing this.
While the English version was heavily censored, removing all traces of gender issues, other translations of the game stayed true to the original Japanese story. The Spanish version was practically unchanged, and the Italian version stated that Vivian was a woman, but had previously been a man.
But Japan, as a different country with a different culture, does not have or follow our American/Western ideas of sex and gender.
Are you under the impression there are no transgender people in Japan? I don't get what you're trying to say here. Because, for reference, the first openly transgender woman elected to office in Japan happened the year before the Thousand Year Door came out. Also, transgender people have existed for over 12,000 years, long before Western civilization even existed. And on the topic of Japan specifically, we also have a story about somebody undergoing a transition of their gender identity from the 11th or 12th century.
Another Japanese aspect to this is that the specific pronoun that Japanese Vivian uses to refer to himself is atai, which is a slang version of the pronoun atashi, which is used by, among other things, male rakugo performers. The entire game is telling us something, and for some reason some blind, illiterate localizers didn't get the memo.
It's also just used by women to refer to themselves. You do know that, right?
And if you still try to insinuate that it might be, you guys do know that even today, in the year of our Lord 2024, Japan still doesn't allow gay marriage? Are you really going to try to tell me that Nintendo, family-friendly Nintendo, would introduce a transgendered character in 2004? There are, traditionally speaking, a few different localization philosophies. Some localizers strive for a true one-to-one copy. Some focus more on connecting with the target audience in the new language. Nintendo has generally leaned towards the avoid controversy at all costs angle. Family-friendly entertainment is Nintendo's stock and trade. Please, I'm begging you, try and make the argument that they, in 2004, would intentionally make a transgendered character. It simply can't be done.
I mean, you do know Nintendo of Japan has a history of including some things that many would not consider family-friendly in the Mario series, right? That's why many things had to be edited out and censored in international releases. Here are some clips from a Did You Know Gaming video discussing this.
In the Japanese version of Mario Party 2, the ending for Western Land featured real guns and bullets. The ending was changed in the international release so that the guns shot out corks instead. In the Japanese game, the Chucky-La Cola is actually vintage red wine. As well as Vivian, when Mario's Picross for the Game Boy was brought to the West, several of the game's puzzles were censored. Many puzzles which originally depicted alcoholic beverages such as beer and wine were replaced with various objects such as a boo, a silk hat, and a duck. A puzzle that originally showed a cigarette and an ashtray was also replaced with a rabbit.
Anyway, my final thoughts are this. I had far less to say than I expected. Good night and good luck.